Okay. The next item is item number 13, application for a certificate of appropriateness at 38 to 50 Cooper Square in the NoHo Historic District, docket number 15-8924, block 544, lot 38. This is an office, warehouse, and factory building originally built as a row of houses in the mid-19th century and combined and altered by Fritz Nathan in 1960. This is an application to construct a gymnasium, and install a railing and mechanical equipment on the roof.
Plans. Oh, no. Oh, they're on the.
Sorry, we just had the handouts. All right, good afternoon, Mary Ann Hurley, Landmarks Preservationist. This project is located on the west side of Cooper Square. It's actually Grace Church High School. And as you can see, this is a illustration of the front facade, but the work here is actually going to be the installation of a gymnasium on the fourth floor with the roof raised at its highest point 24 feet above the existing building roof. It will be actually in a standing seam metal with a gray color, and it will also include the installation of new mechanical and also a perimeter fence on the rooftop for safety. So the project team is here to continue the presentation.
Thank you, Mary Ann.
Thank you, Mary Ann. Commissioners, Madam Chair. When we last appeared before the commission in 2010, it was to make way for the arrival of the Grace Church High School in this building. There were a number of changes that we requested on the facade to make it more welcoming as a school, and you approved those, and the school has since moved in. We said at the time that we would be back when resources and time permitted to deal with the gymnasium that would have to be added on the existing fourth floor. This is an expansion of the roof line. We are not, the gym floor itself will be on the existing fourth floor of the building, but the roof is being heightened over certain portions of the gymnasium in order to deal with the school's athletic program and its mission. It is very deep in the site. You'll be able to see that from the architectural presentation. The project is not, as of right, at the time when it first came to you, this is the school in an M15B zone, schools not permitted. We received a special permit at that time from the Board of Standards and Appeals. And this time we'll have to go back to the BSA because this is work that's taking place in the rear yard, and it's increasing the extent of work in the rear yard. I don't want to take up too much of your time with that BSA stuff. So we will proceed this afternoon with George Davison, who's the head of the school, wants to say a few words, and then Jacob Alspector, the project architect from 2010, and still the project architect, will tell you about this continuation of the school's work. Thank you.
So hi, I'm George Davison. I'm the head of Grace Church School, and it's great to be back again. We need this gym because we now have 209, and by next year we'll have 300 students. They all have to go off-site to a gym. We have a gym, which you approved it in 2005 at 86 4th Avenue. We also use the gym at the Houston Street Center. However, in a school, having the athletic facilities central to where the students are is a very important part of the life of high school experience. I think everyone here went to high school, remember this. The Grace Church School and Grace Church have been loving stewards of landmarks in our neighborhood and continue to be. We've worked very hard to develop a plan here that is minimally visible and meets the needs of our program, and we hope we will treat you kindly. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
have, as you know, as you can see from your packets, we're on the edge of the NoHo Historic District. And these views are existing from Cooper Square. From the north, the most visible portion on 3rd Avenue, as you get past Cooper Union, is obscured. This is a winter shot, and you can see in the spring, and you'll see elsewhere that most of what's up there is obscured. We have, so you understand what we're doing here. This facade is at an angle, as you can see, to the rest of the Commissioner's grid of 1811. And so the gym, which is back in this configuration here on the roof, is set back and detached from the geometry of 4th Avenue. So it really, the idea is that it would read with the background. This is a section at this point through, so that this facade is actually angling back and forth, so it grows and shrinks depending on where you take the section. But we've endeavored to make the sight lines at some point further north virtually minimally visible. And the form of the gym is determined by the width of the basketball court and the height required, or close to the height required for international volleyball, which is set asymmetrically, so you get that form of the gym. Just in terms of visibility, one can see, well, we also have, I did want to point out that we have a existing window in the back that's currently bricked up, and we're going to be replacing with a new window. This is the rear facade. This is not visible except for a tiny sliver, which you can see from Lafayette Street, south of the Public Theater. You can see the sort of form there. And if you're walking by very quickly, you won't see it. The visibility also from 6th Street through Winter Trees, you can see that form of the gym there. And from Cooper Square, there's virtually this is the existing plus the rendered form of the gym, and here you can see through the trees, the winter trees, which are totally obscured most of the time. And across on 6th Street and 3rd Avenue, you can just get to see the corner of the gym. So the materiality of the gym addition and the roof is such that we make it blend in with mechanical equipment to the rear. I'm sorry, I'm sort of losing where I think. Let's get the material board up. Anyway, you have it in your packet. Here it is. And it's number 28. And that's light painted gray semi-matte standing seam roofing, about 24 inches on center, and a vertical siding, which you can see in the various elevations. Rear, side. This is a new piece of mechanical equipment on the north that's invisible. And this is the south elevation. And then we also did a mock-up, which you can see here, indicating the very minimally visible from Cooper Square. As I said, most of the visibility is from the north through the trees, or from way down 6th Street, which you can see on this photo, and that's 18, 17, and 18 in your packets. The other item sort of is a picket fence to protect the roof, which is basically finished in the same metal finishes of the diagonal facade, which is dark brown, which is that. So the window frames, the cornice, the pseudo cornice, I should say, and the picket fence, which serves to obscure whatever is visible, which is very minimal. So the idea is that this blends into the texture of the Commissioner grid items back there and is detached from the facade facing Cooper Square.
Is the,
So it reads as a background.
is the picket fence a parapet? Is it,
There is no, yes, there's
Is it
no
because it's-
parapet.
is it because there's access to children at that level and therefore you have to have a parapet, or is?
Well,
Well,
there's access to children, but there is a fire stair there which can't be locked. It is alarmed, but our danger is the kid who gets.
It's a
through.
code
So
requirement.
it
Oh, it's a code
It's
requirement?
a code requirement,
Okay.
and it's something that,
There was a fence there at one time,
yes.
but I think before we moved in, they removed the fence when they redid the roof.
Right. So that's something that's going on around, and I should have pointed that out on the plan.
It's also set back.
Oh, it's also set back, is that correct? Okay.
This is the
I
picket
see.
fence there, and in the back as well. It's just a 3.5-foot high, plain, 4-inch on center, pickets painted brown.
Right, questions for the applicant? Are there any questions? Okay.
I had just
Yes,
one.
yes,
So,
Roberta.
So there is nothing visible at all, that's what you're saying, right?
I wouldn't
Through
say
the
it's
trees.
No, there's-
visible.
I know, there's,
If you look
two
at
places.
at 17 and 18, you'll see, we actually have to point it out because otherwise you
Try to say
wouldn't see
minimally
it.
visible.
Here.
But it's very minimally visible. And our intention was really to,
Just that.
you know, to take the form of the gym and as much as we could
Side, there's quite a bit
allow,
further away.
Over there.
allow the not compromise the function
That's some-
and still be sort of under the view plane.
Is he the same?
Our aim was that if you were reading, if you were walking the street, reading it, you would read it
Oh,
as
this
part of
is the
equipment
one.
But
that
that
would have
is kind of
always been there.
something else, so I don't think that's
You
a
wouldn't see it as integral to the building.
yes, Adi?
Well, as a Cooper Union graduate, it's wonderful to have another, I'd say, another institution that's living and into the future here on this block, and I think there's really very respectful and very quiet and well done.
Thank you. What year did you graduate?
85, 85.
All right. Before we go into comments, maybe I will just take testimony. Thank you. Are there any more questions for the applicant there at this point? Okay, Barbara Zay.
Barbara Zay of the Historic Districts Council. HDC supports this application and applauds the applicant on their efforts to minimally transform and adaptively reuse this structure. The proposal represents a clever solution to a school expansion while also being sensitive to neighboring buildings. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any more speakers on this item? All right, we received testimony or a resolution from Community Board 2, I believe. They recommend approval of this application. All right, any other questions for the applicant, or we can close the hearing? Okay, close the hearing. I would agree with Commissioner, with Adi, as she articulated why she thinks this is an appropriate building enlargement for the gymnasium. And I agree with HDC as well, as talking about a good example of an adaptive reuse of a building. It's a very subtle enlargement. I think the colors reflect other rooftop additions. I think the treatment in terms of setting it back and the curved roof also ensures that, in fact, it's not obtrusive. Yes.
We've had several over the last few years, similar sorts of additions to schools, and often they're difficult. I mean, you want to allow the school to flourish and the program to be added, but often it's a bitter pill to swallow around this table because it somehow is more visible than we would like, or in some way intrudes in the building below it. I think this is sort of a miracle that you've been able to achieve this, particularly because the buildings are low, and therefore it might be all the more visible. So the strategy of pushing it to the back to allow this historic square to still be characterized on its western edge by a relatively low building it was a great one. And I think to the degree you see anything, and you really don't, I almost want to see a little bit more of it, frankly, but it adds to this extraordinary square where new and old of all kinds of shapes and forms, to say the least, are relatively accommodating to each other, I would submit. In any event, this shows that this building is alive and well with a great institution in it. The only issue will come, I guess you have to go to BSA, so in the strategy of pushing it all the way to the back, a great one for us, it might create some issues in the back that we're not concerned with so much. Yeah, right.
Thank you. Yes, any other comments? All right. Diana, would you like to read?
I agree with the comments of Commissioner Barron and Commissioner Bland. Thank you.
All right. Would you like to read the resolution?
Sure. Let's see if I can find it. I will. In the matter of a certificate of appropriateness, Borough of Manhattan, 3850 Cooper Square. The application is to construct a gymnasium and install a railing and mechanical equipment on the roof. I recommend approval, finding that the removal of an existing section of the roof and mechanical equipment will not eliminate significant historic fabric, that the proposed enlarged gymnasium with a new roof and windows will be set back from the front facade and will be minimally visible from the east side of Cooper Square, that although a section of the roof of the new gymnasium will be visible from East 6th and Lafayette Street, it will be seen in the distance and through an alleyway between the opening of two buildings, that the simple modern design and materials of the proposed enlargement of the gymnasium will complement the design of the 1960 alterations of the building and the eclectic buildings within the context of Cooper Square, that the palette of materials for the rooftop addition, consisting of a light gray standing seam metal roof, corrugated metal walls, and dark bronze aluminum windows, will relate to similar materials found within the historic district, that the proposed mechanical equipment will be minimally visible and will be seen within the context of other buildings with rooftop mechanical installations within the historic district, that the proposed visible rooftop guardrail will be set back from the parapet and will not draw undue attention to itself or call attention away from the main facade, and that the proposed rooftop additions will not overwhelm the scale and massing of this building and will not diminish the special architectural and historic character of the building or the historic district.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? This application's been approved.